Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kids TV in the house like kitchen sinks. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Now, with no further ado, let's get into this evening's video, if you will. It's 11:52 p.m. Thursday evening, soon to be Friday morning, just getting off work, and I got a special treat for you all. I'm actually going to do a reaction video to the Katt Williams, Shannon Sharpe interview. And if you haven't seen it, man, you're missing out. You might want to go watch that. Katt Williams on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Club Shay Shay. It's the hottest thing trending right now. I actually took the time and watched it. Fire. Best interview. I think it's the best interview I've ever seen. So again, if you haven't had the opportunity to watch it, I'd recommend you going to check it out. Now, Katt Williams, after looking at this interview and actually watching it, dissecting it, and breaking it down, I look at Katt Williams in a totally different light. Now, don't get me wrong, I always liked Katt Williams. I always thought he was funny. I never really thought anything outside of it. For you all that may not know who Katt Williams is, you probably know who he is, just, maybe don't know him by name. The movie Friday, I believe Friday After Next, and Next Friday, he was the pimp. He was the one that said, "You are not in prison anymore, Damon. I am a boy." He played the role of Money Mike. Very, very, very funny character. Very funny individual. But the reason I say that I look at him in a different light at this point, upon watching the interview with Shannon Sharpe over at Club Shay Shay, he really broke down the industry. He broke down exactly his likes, his dislikes, and his problems, faults, whatever you want to call it, with the industry. Now, a lot of times when you ask a celebrity a question, oftentimes they deflect. They talk kind of around the question. Very few people answer questions directly. This wasn't those type of interviews. This wasn't one of those type of interviews. Not only did he answer the questions directly, he put names on it. He didn't insinuate anything. He didn't kind of just put it out there in the air and allow you to figure it out. No. He named names. And he said exactly the problems that he had with the individuals that he was speaking of. Now, certain people I kind of had mixed emotions because, I'm fans of some of the peoples that he, was speaking of. But at the same time, I had to remind myself, these are just people just like I am. You and I. They just happen to be famous. They're in Hollywood. They're on the big screens. You see what I'm saying? They got millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, they're regular people just like you and I. So why can't this be true? I'm not saying that everything that he said, I believe what he was saying. I wholeheartedly believe everything that he was saying, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, the things that he was saying about everyone. Because, we all, sometimes we have misconceptions of people. We think one thing, but we later find that it wasn't exactly what we thought. Very convincing, very genuine. He talked about so many things. He talked about his upbringing. As I mentioned, I knew him as a comedian, but I didn't really know his story. He talked about how at the age of 13, he left home. He was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. He talked about how him and his father had such a kind of a disconnect, and he never spoke harshly about his father. But he was talking about, the older he grew, the more they started to bump heads. He was becoming a man. Obviously, his father was already a man. So they had a disconnect. And, he briefly touched on the fact that, his father would often lay hands on him. And at some point, he just said enough was enough. And he left. He left. Had nowhere to go. Found himself, I believe he said, in Florida initially. Once he left, homeless, 13 years old. 13 years old, nowhere to go. And, he just talked about the ins and outs and the intricacies of what have you, of being homeless and how he kind of maneuvered his way to the top. Now, it was a long road. It didn't just happen overnight. The guy was a scholar. The guy was he was so smart. These are the things that he spoke of. At 13 years old, he's like college level, comprehension and skills as far as, understanding and it was just amazing sitting there listening to this person talk. He talked about how a lot of the actors and actresses that we know of to this day, I'm not going to necessarily say he said that they weren't real, but he said that they weren't being real. And so he felt the need to actually, call them out. But he said he's been doing it. He said, this is nothing new. He said, I'm not chasing clout. What do I need to chase clout for? I'm already rich. Every deal that I do with Netflix is at least, 8 figures. What do I need to chase clout for? That was a powerful statement right there, because that made me really, really sit back and think like, wow, this guy's not doing this for views. He's not doing it to sell, a product, tickets, a show, a movie. Now, he's speaking genuinely from the heart. Some of the people that he spoke of, he talked about Ricky Smiley. Ricky Smiley, most people know who Ricky Smiley is. He basically has a problem with Ricky Smiley because when Ricky Smiley came on to Club Shay Shay, he talked about how when they were auditioning for next Friday after next, I get them confused. It's one of them. It wasn't the original Friday, in which Money Mike was the pimp. Ricky Smiley was the crackhead Santa Claus. Well, Ricky Smiley talked about how initially he was supposed to audition to be Money Mike, which was the pimp, as I just mentioned. And Katt Williams was auditioning for the crackhead Santa Claus. Katt Williams said that wasn't true. So, he spoke on that. He basically talked about how he made Money Mike. He wrote all the parts for Money Mike. He, essentially created Money Mike. Now, upon listening to Ricky Smiley's response, he took the high road. So I wish, Katt Williams the best. I have nothing but love for him. I'm here for you, brother, if you ever need me. Basically, Ricky Smiley was saying, I went in to audition to be Money Mike. You see what I'm saying? I went in for that role, but they decided, nah, Katt Williams is a better fit. He never actually said that. I don't really see what his problem was with Ricky Smiley in reference to that character, because he gave Katt Williams all the props, congratulations, in the world as far as that character. Yes, I was supposed to be Money Mike. They felt as though you would be a better fit for Money Mike, so they gave it to you. So I don't necessarily see what his problem was with Ricky Smiley, other than the fact that he's cool with Steve Harvey, who he definitely has a problem with, along with Cedric the Entertainer. He was saying those three is kind of like a package. He definitely has a problem with those two. Now I'll address Steve Harvey. He said that Steve Harvey, he stole his good partner, Mark Curry. Mark Curry used to have he's a comedian, very, very funny. He used to have a sitcom back in the day. I'm talking about back in the 90s, called Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Said that basically Steve Harvey, once Hanging with Mr. Cooper was canceled, stole his entire idea and started his sitcom along with Cedric the Entertainer. So he speaks about that. He talks about how Steve Harvey is very, very successful, but yet, who has he put on? Who has he brought along with him? Who are the people that he's actually helped over the years? Yeah, you make hundreds of millions of dollars, but that doesn't impress me. What does that actually mean? He talked about how Steve Harvey, and all of these things are things that he said. So I guess allegedly, although I do believe him, but still they're allegedly, or alleged rather. He talked about how Steve Harvey was never homeless. He tells everybody that he was homeless. And Katt Williams says, no, 25 years ago, you was on tour making $3,000 a show and at least doing 5 shows a week. So how were you ever homeless? Katt Williams says, I was homeless. You took my story and try to twist it and make it as though you really, really came from a struggle. You really, really came from the mud. And he goes on to make jokes about Steve Harvey, the way that he talks and his hair and, just being a comedian, just being funny. And he speaks of about a battle that they had between the two of them. And he said that he did Steve Harvey so bad. That's the reason that Steve Harvey stopped doing comedy. He wants everybody to believe that, he stopped doing comedy because he has so many shows. And Katt Williams was like, no, you too country to really be on the big screens like that. The roles that you did get, it was political. And that's the reason that you no longer do comedy. Talked about Cedric the Entertainer. He really has a problem with Cedric the Entertainer because he said Cedric the Entertainer years ago stole his joke. Said that he came and watched him perform. This was when Katt Williams hadn't blown up yet. He was still, Katt Williams said, I guess he thought I was a nobody or no-name comic, and he took my joke. And on the Kings of Comedy, the last joke that Cedric the Entertainer performed, he talked about something to the effect of his car being a spaceship. It was something along those lines. I didn't actually go back and revisit the joke. It was funny. It was a very, very funny joke. But Katt Williams said that was his joke. And it was his best joke. And Cedric the Entertainer knew that that was his joke. But yet he took it. He stole the joke from him. So he said, he kind of let it go. He didn't really, make too big of a deal out of it. But, I guess at some point, Cedric the Entertainer came on the Club Shay Shay and said some things that, Katt Williams didn't like. So he definitely addressed Cedric the Entertainer. He said, he's another one that can't act. He's too country. What else did he say? I mean, he just spoke, he spoke the truth as far as how he felt in his mind. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. He said he doesn't respect Cedric the Entertainer because he doesn't write his own jokes. As I just mentioned, allegedly he stole his jokes. And so that's a big issue that he had. And also, they were going to do a Kings of Comedy too. Once Bernie Mac passed away, he said that they came to him and asked him to take Bernie Mac's spot. He turned them down. He said, I turned them down because Steve Harvey wasn't being real. Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac never really got along. According to Katt Williams, Steve Harvey was jealous of Bernie Mac. And that was, what caused the friction throughout the whole time that they were touring and filming together. He said it got so bad that, and again, this is allegedly, that Katt Williams said that Steve Harvey called the production whoever you know, made contact, in which Bernie Mac was shooting the movie Ocean's 11 and tried to have Bernie Mac kicked off the movie so that he could replace him. Again, I don't know if any of these things are true, but that's what he said. You know, he went on to speak about Kevin Hart, which Kevin Hart hasn't put anybody on, and he doesn't understand how Kevin Hart kind of blew up so fast. You know, a guy coming from the East Coast, and he, you know, comes into Hollywood, and he has a film special, and, you know, he has a role in a movie, a lead role in a movie, and you coming from the East Coast, how are you able to do these things so fast? He talked about the infamous door that you hear a lot of these entertainers speak about. The only way that you can blow up and get to a certain level is if you walk through that door. You hear it all the time. Now, I don't necessarily agree, but I'm not in that predicament. I'm not in that situation. But essentially, he's saying you can only get so far on just talent alone. Talent alone will get you so far. But at some point, you got to sit down with them people, and you're going to have to walk through that door and do it, whatever you got to do to ascend to the next level. I don't know. You hear it quite often. I'm not really one that believes in that. I think that there is some truth to it, but I don't believe that everyone that is successful had to walk through that door. You know, he briefly talks about Martin Lawrence and Tyler Perry, as far as the roles that they play, the women roles that they play in putting on a dress. He said that Martin Lawrence, you know, him and Martin was pretty tight at one point, and when Martin was going through his thing, you know, having to go to, I don't necessarily want to say he was going to rehab, but some things was going on in Martin's life, you know, personally, was getting arrested and things of that nature. He went to deal with that, and he said, Martin told me, hey, when I get back, I got a movie role for you. He said, man, I was, you know, so genuine. Martin was so genuine with me. We were so tight. I told him, look, man, I got you, bro. When you come back, man, whatever role, you know, I got you. I don't even have to read the script. He said they got in, you know, Martin came back, and, you know, he kept his word. He called him. They went to the, I guess the reading, the audition, and Martin wanted him to put on a dress. He was like, man, are you crazy? You already made it. You did Big Mama's House 1. You already did. I think he was speaking of the third one. He said, you already did the first couple. What do you even need to wear a dress at this point for? Let's do it this way. So, you know, he touched on that with, you know, with Martin Lawrence. He didn't really speak on him too bad. Talked about Chris Tucker, you know, being real close with Michael Jackson. He said that Michael Jackson called him Christmas. That's what Michael Jackson referred to Chris Tucker as. He was like, how you doing, Christmas? He said that's how Mike would talk. So he asked Shannon, what grown man do you know allows another grown man to call him Christmas? You know, he didn't really stay on Chris Tucker too much, but he was just more so speaking of why Chris Tucker didn't want to continue the role as Smokey in Friday. You know, smoke weed. He don't want to be looked upon as, you know, a weed head. You know, so he briefly touched on that. Who else did he talk about here? He just talked about several of the characters in Friday, so much to where Shannon was like, well, I mean, heck, would you do another Friday? You know, he talked about Faison Love, Big Worm. You know, Faison Love, a.k.a. Big Worm. You know, and Big Worm, by the way, man, it was a very, very funny character in Friday. You playing with my emotions, Smokey. See what I'm saying? So he talked about how Faison Love, you know, he wasn't very funny. He's never had a comedy special, but he always has something to say about everybody else. But yet, you haven't had not one Netflix special. He went on to say that he's had 12 Netflix specials over the years. He's had 19 rather, 100 city tours. 19 100 city tours. So allow that to sink in. 19 different times over the years, he's gone on tour in which he's gone to at least 100 cities and performed and was getting paid. So he was like, how are these guys saying that they're bigger and better than me and more successful than me when I do the most as far as comedy. He said Cedric the Entertainer, getting back to said, he said Cedric the Entertainer doesn't have a comedy special on Netflix or Tubi. The guy's not funny. The guy can't act. Ricky Smiley, he's not funny. He can't act. Everything that they've ever been a part of, it's been canceled. It hasn't continued. It's been a flop. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. Them guys are very, very talented and very, very funny. So, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he said. However, I do appreciate his, the fact that he was candid, the fact that he was passionate, the fact that he didn't deflect any question. Anything you want to ask me. You can ask me anything. He talked about how he had respect and admiration for D.L. Hughley. He said he tolerates, no one speaking bad about D.L. He talked about Dave Chappelle. He loves Dave Chappelle. Terry Crews. Him and Terry Crews was very tight, on the set. Used to not audition, but they used to kind of practice together, if you will. Go over their lines and their scripts for the movie. And you could tell because, on set, it was chemistry. It was chemistry. He talked as though the two knew each other for years, but they didn't. It was just the chemistry and the work ethic that they put in to practice or what have you. Looked very, very genuine. He talked about how a lot of the roles that people wanted him to play over the years, he just wouldn't do it. He wasn't going to do it because he's for the people. He's not going to play a role to where people are looking at him like, hold on, man. Nah, I wasn't feeling that. He said he's turned down millions of dollars. If it wasn't right and it didn't sit well with the people, he wasn't doing it. Now, Shannon Sharpe also spoke about the people that he's helped out. Now, he didn't really want to get into that too much because he said that when he does something for someone, he just does it. He doesn't have to speak out about it. He doesn't have to, broadcast to the world what he did. But it's interesting that was brought up because Lil Boosie, I just watched the interview on Lil Boosie not long ago. And he talked about how when he first came home, Katt Williams was performing in New Orleans. Lil Boosie said, man, I really didn't even have nowhere to stay. I was staying at a hotel. He said, Katt Williams reached out to me, had me some tickets, me and my girl, front row. And I came to the show. It was an excellent show. He said as Katt Williams was leaving, as he was walking off the stage, he tossed me a bag, a brown bag. I believe he said it was a brown bag. He said it was like wrapped real tightly. I believe he said it was a brown bag. But he said he tossed him a bag. Boosie said he didn't think nothing of it. He said he thought it was probably some good smoke. That's what he thought that it was. He said, so he left. I guess he got in the car, got back to his room or what have you, opened it up. It was $15,000. He said, man, I looked at the sky and said, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. $15,000. He said he just got out. He didn't have nothing. Said he came home and people wasn't looking out for him. Now I'm quite sure, for you to be able to go to the show, you had to get dressed. You had to, you probably had a little something, but nothing major. He said what was so real about that, he never even met Katt Williams before. Never met him, never talked to him a day in his life before he asked him to come to his show. He said that was the realest thing that I've ever seen in my life. Shannon spoke of Katt Williams paying $75,000 for, and forgive me, I can't remember her name, but it was a actress, for her to get her Hollywood star. I guess evidently you have to pay money for it. She didn't have the money. He paid 75 G's for her to get her star. He asked him, did he once help out Suge Knight? Did he once help out the group of Migos financially? He don't speak on it. He's not going to speak on anything like that. They talked about how, struggling comedians, he would just send them money, but he would never hand it to him himself. He'd send it by way of, one of his staff members. They never said, this is from Katt Williams, but I guess people kind of put two and two together. The guy's a very, very intelligent, genuine dude. Now, I know we've heard things over the years about him getting arrested and him getting high. He spoke on all of that. I tend to believe him because I'm hearing it straight from the horse's mouth. Very, very interesting interviews. The hottest thing out right now. That's probably going to break all the records that Club Shay Shay has. As far as views, I don't see nobody else, no other interviews that he's had so far touching that interview. It's crazy. He talked about Michael Blackson, about how Michael Blackson's not real. You know, he has a fake African accent. For you all that don't, know who Michael Blackson is, mother sucker. He's the guy from Africa. He's been in America for years, and he's a funny guy, man. Really, he was in one of the Fridays just as well. He was the guy that brought the CD back to the CD store. And he was like, I need my money back, mother sucker. And they was like, Day was like, yeah, but you bit out of it. It had like bite marks in the CD. You see what I'm saying? So, that he's funny to me. You see what I'm saying? But Mike Epps, he spoke on Mike Epps just as well, but he didn't say anything bad about Mike Epps. He didn't say anything bad about anybody. He made sure that he made it known that, listen, I'm not degrading any of these people. I'm not downing any of these people. I'm just simply giving you all the real, because this is information that if you're not in Hollywood, if you're not in that circle, if you don't know these people, you are not privy to this information. You don't have any clue about as far as how these guys are. Yeah, they successful yet, but who are they helping? Who are they putting on? He said, I've gone on tour and I've taken I can't remember the exact amount. I've taken X amount of comedians out with me. Make sure that they make $300,000 a year every year. And you don't even work for me. We partners. You don't work for me. You're not my yes man. I'm not your boss. I'm going to take you out on the road with me if you're funny. We're going to get this money. And you going to eat. And you're going to get exposure. I'm for the underdog. He said, but you got all these other guys, and I think that's really his problem with Kevin Hart. He was like, yeah, he put Tiffany Haddish on. He was like, but who are these guys really, really helping? And I felt him on that. I felt him on that. Because me, the way that I look at it, once you get to a certain level and you get to the point to where you can help people no matter what, it don't have to be comedy. It don't have to be YouTube. It don't have to be whatever it is. You reach down and help the next person up. People ask me, well, why you be talking about Jay Williams so much? I don't talk about Jay Williams so much. I just acknowledge the fact that, and I give him his flowers, because he doesn't have to reach back, and try to help me. He doesn't have to give me advice. Hey, man, you keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to give you a couple pointers, some things that may help you, but you continue to do what you're doing. That's all the respect in the world. So that's why I mention Jay Williams' names in some of my videos. I don't take advantage of that. I'm not hitting, as I mentioned in one of my other videos, I'm not hitting them up. Hey, Jay, when we going to do this interview, man? Hey, Jay, when we going to do? Man, we spoke on it. If it happens, it happens. It's a beautiful thing. But if it don't, guess what? Cool. You don't owe me nothing. You've already done more for me than anybody's probably ever going to do as far as, in this YouTube game or what have you. Just mentioning my name. How many people have come to my channel? A guy just told me today that I'm at your channel because Jay Williams sent me. Now, I stayed. I think, I like what you do. But Jay Williams sent me over. Man, how many people have said that to me? So, again, salute, man. It's people like that. It's people like that reach back. And that's what, Katt Williams was basically speaking on. That's nothing but respect. So, my channel ever blows up, ever, if I ever get large in this podcast game, guess what? I'm reaching back, man. I'm reaching back. I help people now. And give them the information, what little information that I do have and what I do know. You know, I've had a couple people reach out to me or whatever, man. How did you do this? How do you do? I'll tell you what I know. That's what I can do, and we can try to figure out the rest together. You know, he briefly touched on Harvey Weinstein. It's crazy because he said he was at his agency. I guess they was at the office or whatever agency represented him. And he said that the guy offered, let's see how I can put this on YouTube, man. The guy offered to do a special favor for him, if you will. A special favor for him that he was just not with. Put two and two together. Sexual favor. And he was like, whoa. And he said it in front of everybody. You know, he's just talking about Hollywood and just how open it is. You know, people do things and it's not even a secret. You know, he had a couple P. Diddy jokes, nothing major. He didn't really, you know, TD Jakes. He didn't really go into depth. He mentioned so many other people that I just can't think of everybody that he mentioned, because it's like he exposed the entire Hollywood. So Shannon asked him, what do you worry about getting canceled? How you gonna cancel me? I don't need your movies. I already got my core fan base. My people gonna come out and watch me. And it's not even about money with me. So if you can't, you know, I've been canceled once. So guess what? Here I sit. I'm not going to allow people to dictate what I say and what I do with the threat of me being canceled. Realest interview I've ever seen, man. Realest interview I've ever seen. It's about 2.5 hours. 2 hours and I believe, 46 minutes. Watched every bit of it. Every minute of it. I recommend, you know, for you all that like to watch these longer videos, podcasts, or what have you. You know, if you're on the road to, from work, traveling, vacation, whatever. You like to listen to YouTube before you go to sleep, put you to sleep or what have you. Man, y'all go check that Katt Williams interview out over at Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp. Best interview I've ever seen. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. I just watched it today. I was hearing about it yesterday. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it, whatever. But when you continuously hear people talking about it, and talking about it, and talking about it, it's like, oh, let me go check this out. See what he's talking about. Real genuine dude, man. Real genuine dude. I might watch it. I might listen to it again tonight before I go to sleep. I don't know. I might, and I might not. It just depends. Real Kens TV, man. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the Chizana if you're not already subscribed. Be sure to hit that post notification. Anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Shouts out, man. Appreciate all the love and support that I'm getting. You know, as I mentioned, and I'm going to start mentioning this in every video. You know, for some reason, my videos are just not, you know, my shorts. I get thousands of views. Thousands. But my long-term videos, I said long-term, but my longer videos, I'm not getting as many views, but guess what? We just going to keep pumping them out, baby. Pause. You know, we going to keep pumping them out. And y'all keep telling people about Real Kens TV 859 if you feeling me. And guess what? The world's going to catch up eventually. They're not going to catch on. They're going to catch up. Real Kens TV. Salute.